my head again. You had your heart set on me, but these feels, they come and go, and they come so easily. Tell me what it is about you that I can't forget, but you're breaking down my walls again just to set me free. Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Staying up when I go out, you gotta know I'm all yours. But when I say what's that about, you start slurring your words. Tell me why you have to seem so distant when I'm holding you. Your fingertips are drifting away, and I fucking love how it hurts. Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I love the way you always leave me? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? Why do I, baby, why do I? Why do I, baby, why do I? Why do I, baby, why do I love the touch but never love the feeling? see the light inside you, brighter than the skies. Hold on, just let us escape and fly away tonight. We have the world in our sight, and I know together we'll be alright. Can you see forever we will go? We are forever learning, one step at a time. As long as the world is turning, I'll be by your side. We'll keep the fire burning, I'll never see you hurt. You know I can't explain it in a way of words. We both know that you'll understand, and you'll see if you take my hand, and I'll go out of my own way for you. I'll go out of my own way.
There's a distance between us. It's getting hard to reach out. Haven't seen you in seasons, but all I hear is your voice. I know my limits, you can break me down, but I'll stay till the finish line. And I've been counting minutes for quite some time now, just to see you again. And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting got millions of reasons to let it all go. Hope we're not too broken. I know I'm not always strong, and I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again.
Everything changes.
Life. Life.
I'm on my own, broken alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Don't stare 'cause shadows in the atmosphere, charting the stratosphere. I prayed for you and kept you near in hopes you'd chase away my fears. I'm on my own, you made it so, and now I'm chasing nightmares too. I used to run with you through the great big leaves, laugh at you when you laugh at me. Hope for us because I believe the home was just you and me. I thought you were the one for me, that's why I give you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas, oh you meant the world to me. Oh you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I thought you were the one for me, that's why I give you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas, oh you meant the world to me. Oh you meant the world to me. Oh you meant the world to me. Oh I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. I thought you were the one for me, that's why I give you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas, oh you meant the world to me.
Good afternoon, everyone. Could we ask if people would take their seats now, please? We would like to start getting proceedings underway. So if you could take your seats, please. Thank you.
Memories die out too hard. But we were traveling the mountains just to find the loudest seas. We sat down by the fire, knowing we could aim higher, but we didn't know that yet. So if you want something to hold on to, gotta find it first. But here I am, laying under palm trees, waiting for the summer, knowing there's nowhere to go. 'Cause I am happy on this island, wanna be my farmland. I don't ever want to leave, I'm in a tropic club.
1, 2. 2, 1, 2. 1, 2.
Hello. Could please start taking their seats, please? Thank you. Now, good afternoon, everyone. If you'd like to take a seat, and also the exhibitors, if you would like to take a seat here as well too, you're more than welcome. So my name is Grace Corbell. I work in the local enterprise office here in Donegal, and it's my pleasure to be here on the final day of Local Enterprise Week to welcome you all to this event, which is a real celebration of the businesses that make Donegal such a dynamic, innovative and wonderful place to live. I'm delighted to ask our Cathaoirleach of Donegal County Council, Councillor Niamh Kennedy, to officially open proceedings today.
Gormaigat Grace, Thrunona Wayakarja. This afternoon, everyone, it's a privilege to be here today at the final day of the local enterprise venue and the week 2025 for the Made in Donegal Business Summit and Showcase, and what a great week it has been. Unfortunately, I missed a lot of it, but I was here on Monday and back again today, so the room is again very, very exciting, and it's fantastic to see so many people here and such quality products for Donegal. So I'd like to start by thanking some of Donegal's finest for being here with us today: Caroline Faulkner, Willie McCarter, Edward McDade, Joe Barr, Jim McGuinness and Patsy McGonigal. You're all very welcome. Throughout this week there has been an excellent programme of events like the one that we have here today. And I was at the launch, as I said, on Monday, and I was struck by the energy in the room. It was fantastic. The events during Local Enterprise Week are a great opportunity for Donegal business owners and SMEs to gain access to experts, meet successful entrepreneurs, and learn from industry leaders who are happy to share their knowledge, inspire belief, and provide practical advice. Today's event isn't just about showcasing great products and crafts, it's about the incredible community behind them. By coming together, we're not only celebrating our individual successes, but also proving the strength of Donegal's business community. This kind of teamwork helps us all reach our full potential. The new audiences and they grow our businesses and put Donegal on the map in even bigger ways. Things are always changing in business, but one thing stays the same. Supporting local really matters. Every time you buy from a Donegal business, you're not just getting a great product, you're helping to create jobs, keep our traditions alive, and strengthen our community. Choosing local means investing in our future and keeping Donegal thriving. Today may mark the end of Local Enterprise Week, but it is important to recognise the vital role the Local Enterprise Office plays in empowering businesses and driving entrepreneurship forward. The Local Enterprise Office is more than a support system. It is a partner for businesses at every stage of their journey, whether you're just starting out, looking to grow, or planning to expand into new markets. Brenda, Grace and their team are here to guide you. At the Local Enterprise Office Donegal, in partnership with Donegal County Council and Enterprise Ireland, this belief in clients is evident in the supports that they provide and their commitment to fostering collaboration and facilitating business networking opportunities. And by attending Local Enterprise Week each year, it acts as a gateway to the support that can help businesses make the most of all of what our county has to offer. So before I finish up, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the dedication and hard work of all of the entrepreneurs present here today. Your commitment not only enriches our local economy, but it also inspires the next generation of makers and innovators. I believe that this showcase will serve as a catalyst for new collaborations, ideas and opportunities, propelling Donegal to even greater heights. Working together, we can continue to foster a dynamic business community in Donegal, and one that drives job creation, fuels innovation and creates opportunities for all. It gives me great pride to officially launch the Made in Donegal Business Summit and Showcase, and I hope you all have a very enjoyable and a successful day. Go Ramaigh.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. Local Enterprise Week has been all about inspiration, connection and opportunity, and today's summit embodies all of those themes. We are delighted to have Ciara Doherty as MC for today's discussions. With her deep knowledge and experience as a national broadcaster, I've no doubt she will help bring out the most valuable insights from our incredible lineup of speakers. Thanks also to TikTok star Eric Roberts for joining us today and taking the time to broadcast live from this event, all while juggling a busy schedule in life as a new parent. Congratulations on your recent award too. Eric was just crowned Ireland's best social media star, which is a wonderful achievement. We have a great lineup. Thank you. We have a great lineup for today's panel discussions, with each one bringing a different perspective to help us focus on all aspects of business and leadership, ensuring that we learn how to grow and sustain businesses in Donegal. I'm delighted to introduce our first panellist of the day, leadership consultant and coach Caroline Faulkner, former managing director of Fruit of the Loom, Willie McCarter and Edward McDade of Football Special. These leaders in business will share their experience on how they build and developed their businesses, as well as lessons they learned along the way. In addition to leaders in business, we have assembled a panel of leaders in sports too. We are honoured to have such great Donegal sporting legends with us today. Ultra-endurance cyclist and coach Joe Barr, Donegal GAA coach Jim McGuinness, and founder of the Finn Valley Athletics Club, Patsy McGonigal. Their stories of resilience and determination will inspire belief in all of us to reach for our goals. But today is about more than just insights and discussion. It is also about showcasing the best of Donegal business. That's why I'd encourage you all to join us later for the Made in Donegal Business Showcase from 4 p.m. here. This event is a fantastic opportunity to see firsthand the products, services and innovations coming from businesses right here in Donegal. It's a space to connect, collaborate and to support our local entrepreneurs. As we go into today's event and conclude Local Enterprise Week, we encourage you to seize any opportunities that may arise, whether from today or the past week. Connect with new people, take on new insights, and most importantly, believe in the potential of your business. And remember, the Local Enterprise Office team is always here to support you on that journey, whether it's through mentorship, funding, training or networking opportunities. We are committed to helping businesses in Donegal to grow and succeed. Thank you. I hope you all have a fantastic day.
Hello everyone, Ciara Doherty here, delighted to be your MC today. I'm going to get started because I know you're definitely not here to hear from me. With my vast business experience, you are here to get wonderful insights from our panel. So please welcome to the stage Edward McDade, Willie McCarter and Caroline Faulkner. Thank you all so much, everybody. Oh, look at this. Is this called product placements? Does everybody see? Do I need to contact the BAI about this or commission them on? Well, then I think I better go to Edward first because we have our first rule of business: ensure visibility at all time. Am I right, Edward?
Absolutely. Now that we're on TikTok, I've always wanted to be on TikTok.
Are we live? Are we coming live today? Yes, we are. Okay, we'll watch our P's and Q's then. All right, well, actually, let me come to you first, Edward, because it will be, I think, a brand that most people in this room in Donegal and now nationally know, and that is McDade's, in particular, I suppose, Football Special, although there are other brands, of course. Tell me about the company.
Oh, have we got an hour?
We actually do. But it's not all for you, I'm afraid.
I mean, it's a family business. My grandfather started it. He was a farmer. He moved into the town, bought a shop. Then another uncle had a pub. He sold the pub, and they discovered what supply would be needed for the pub trade. And my grandfather, being sort of entrepreneurial, he was a real entrepreneur of the whole business. He started out by buying a van and trading from his shop with his former neighbours on the farming community. So he would take his sugar and tea and all that kind of thing in the back of the van and exchange it for potatoes and all the rest of it and sell it back in the shop again. We applied the same logic then to the licensed trade because the pub side of it came into it, and we got involved then in the wholesale business of alcohol and all that kind of thing. And through time then we bought what was an old creamery, which had its own water source and things like that, and its own power source, believe it or not. And we started to manufacture soft drinks.
And that was in Ramelton,
It
obviously.
was in Ramelton, yeah. And we got the technology really from becoming a satellite bottler for Guinness. Guinness would prepare their product in Dublin and give it out to satellite bottlers to bottle. But they were very specific about what you would do and what you could do and that type of thing. But we learned the technology of bottling from that contract. And that was very important to us because you had to know all about what yeasts would do, and you know the product was only partially ready for consumption. So we had to put it through different things to make sure that it would, mostly to do with making sure that there was hygiene and that temperatures and that were being controlled. And we didn't know it at the time, but the warehouses we had on the quay in Ramelton, which you still see there, big thick walls, no windows, and it was ideal for keeping things at an even temperature. You know, so if any of you visit vineyards in France and you go into the wine cellars, you can go into these wonderful places, they're all under the ground. You keep out the natural light, and it's keeping the even temperatures at all stages. So we learnt all that kind of stuff, and then eventually we came across this we designed this drink football special. And Kira, you know, every soft drinks company, and there was many in the country, you know, there's at least 2 or 3 in every county. And if you think about the business, like it's seasonal. When the sun shines, everybody wants a soft drink. When it's winter times, you know, not so keen, etc. So they all would sit around then in January, February, this time of the year, and they'd be sitting in a place full of all types of ingredients. So they said, we're going to make our own drink. And they would make their own drink. And then they would taste it and say, yeah, that's not too bad. What was it we put into that? And wouldn't remember what it was. I had an uncle who was trained by an old company in the north called McKinney and McGinley, long gone, and he worked in their syrup room, and the syrup room was the laboratory and the driving place for every soft drinks company at that time. And what he learned was, he used to write down longhand everything that happened. This is a man called Eamon, Uncle Eamon, God rest him. He would write down everything. So when the guys would be doing something, he came back into the family business. When they would be doing something, he would say to them, you know, it'd say, we put a vanilla in there, yeah. He'd say, hold on, you know, how much did you put in? I just put a shake into it. How much was the shake? Was it an ounce, a half ounce? What was it? Which of the vanillas did you use? Because we used different ones, etc., etc.
So real attention to detail.
Absolute attention to, and written down in longhand. And we had the advantage in that because we had our own water source, the mineral content, chemical content didn't change. The temperature also stayed pretty level. So when we were carbonating, we knew that it was the pressure we were using rather than the temperature of the water. But we could replicate those things without realizing that that's what we were doing. So when we did hit on something, we could do it again and again and again.
And that was football special.
That was football special, yeah.
The recipe of which people still don't know. We still don't really know what's in it, do we?
No. And my son Seamus, I mean, we're very rarely in the same room together, you know. He's here as well.
Okay, so if there's an explosion, what you're telling me here today, that's the end of football special, isn't it, Edward? Only 2 people in the country have the recipe.
Yeah. But just on the football part of it, just to explain that, and I know you didn't come here to listen to me. I know you're all here to listen to Jim McGuinness. I mean, let's be clear about that. But let me talk about football on a different level, from the business perspective. The family they were fairly cocky people, you know. They reckoned when they would go into a competition, they all played football, they all into sports, big time. And when they would go and win a cup somewhere, inevitably it would go to the local clubhouse or hotel or whatever, bar or whatever, and they'd come with this cup, this winning cup, people would stick a bottle of whiskey or something like that into it. Some of them didn't really want to take any alcohol. Others were very happy to get stuck into the cup. But they decided they would develop their own soft drink. And what they would do is they would go along to a bar where they knew the cup was going to be presented, or the hotel or the clubhouse, and they'd turn up with a case of this stuff.
Which was non-alcoholic, obviously.
Non-alcoholic, yeah. And they would say to the guy, look, whenever we come in here and we're going to win this cup, we come in here with this is what you're going to put in it first. Don't put anything else into it. So we
And was this trying to
it.
introduce the brand to people? Was that
Not
the
at all.
idea? No.
Not at all. They wanted to have a drink themselves with their own product. And people would say, it tastes like this, and and we put in heading agents so to come up like a beer or something like that. And it's just that, when I see the guys shoveling the champagne bottle around, at the Formula One stuff and all that kind of thing, that's the kind of stuff. That was the thinking,
Right.
But everybody could use this. Everybody could drink out of this cup. That was the difference.
You mentioned there was a cockiness about winning the cup. Was there a cockiness about business too, in a good way? I see that as a positive. I should point out.
Well, yeah, I think we Caroline touched on it earlier. It's the resilience bit. Business is not the short dash. It really is a marathon, especially if you want to get to 4 generations like we have. And it's so you have to be able to roll with the punches, because it's dynamic. 1 minute you're up there, next minute, whack, you can be right on the floor. And you've got to be able to get up, and you've got to be able to know what your business is and what you want out of your business as well. Terribly important, to find out what is your core, what is the core of the business, because that's what will take you through the bad times. It's that belief that I know what I'm doing, I know why I'm doing it,
The business has changed, hasn't it,
Oh,
a lot over the years, which maybe
Yes.
people aren't aware of. The
Yeah.
wholesale distribution
Wholesale's
side is
gone,
gone
yeah.
altogether.
Yeah.
And you really did come back to the core business, the business that you
Absolutely.
started with.
Back to the core.
Why?
Yeah. Because of survival. Survival and grow, that's what it's about. You won't survive if you don't really know what your business is about. And you've got to be able to do it, you've got to be able to do it well, and you've got to try and do it better all the time. It's just not, it's a process that you're in, and you have to have the right people around you, and as well as knowing what you want to do yourself. I often say to people, if people ask me, well, how do I find out what I really want to do in my business? I'd say, well, what are you prepared to sacrifice to enable you to be successful in your business? And you think, again, going back to Jim McGuinness, think of the sacrifice those young guys are making to get their hands on Sam Maguire. These guys in their 20s, girls in their 20s, that are going to give something really dedicated to what they're doing. You've got to have the same approach in business. There's no easy way to do it. And that's what gets you through the bad times.
I feel like we're going to play Jim McGuinness bingo here. Every time we say the word Jim McGuinness, you can have a drink or something. We wouldn't make it to 3 o'clock at this rate. You mentioned there, and we had a little chat side stage, Edward, survive and grow. This is a phrase I've heard you use all the time. And I think somebody who is not involved in business like me thinks of it as sort of this upward trajectory that you're constantly building. You said no, it's not like that at all.
No, it's up, down, up, down, up, down. But you're trying that the heights will be higher every time, and you're trying to bring new people, new ideas, new thinking. Like this can here, for example. I mean, that's my son Seamus's work. Cans have been around for a long time. It's only a year ago it's been football special for the first time. But you got to keep pushing things forward, and you got to get people around you. And I was fortunate too, as well as in the sort of on the management end of it, I would have got a number of advisors. There's a couple of them are actually here today. And, sensible people who will evaluate what it is you're doing and will give you an honest read for what's happening in your business. And they can sometimes see something which is very obvious to everybody else, but you're so focused in your business, you can't get your head out of it. You just can't. You can't make that switch, that change.
Because it's so personal?
It's so personal, yeah. I say, but I've always done it like this, and it's always worked. And it's not working now. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to change it? What's the new idea you can get? And these things don't happen overnight. And you're trying so many different things. And, you're very lucky if I think Joe talks about a 2%. You're very lucky if 2% of the ideas that you have ever see the light of day. But you still got to keep trying. You got to keep moving it. That's been the secret for us.
So when you are in that growth phase, as you are at the minute, I
Yes.
think, are you always thinking, right, there's going to be a period, a
Yeah.
fallow period coming up, how do we future-proof?
Yeah, that's it. You got to do it. I think I said to you, Kira, a friend of mine said to me that, you know, the world belongs to the neurotic. Because
And I felt very, very reassured when I heard that.
if
I
you're
think I might have
neurotic
a
enough,
place after all.
anything can happen, so we better be prepared for it, you know. But really, it's the unknowns, you know. It's the unknown unknowns that you're trying to get over, and that's very, very. You can talk about that kind of thing, but when you're actually in the heat of battle, very, very difficult to be able to see a way through it, get a pathway through it.
And just to look at the brand again, it's clear to me, as you say, it's fourth generation, it's with your son Seamus now, that every generation brings something new to the
Absolutely.
brand.
Yes, absolutely.
And bringing
Yeah.
in that
Yeah.
youth
Yeah.
and that talent and that
Yeah.
different viewpoints,
Yeah.
I'd say has
Yeah.
been essential to the survival of McDade.
Absolutely essential, yeah, absolutely essential. And that for that as well, and for that to happen, for the generations to move it forward, you do have to have a succession plan and things like that. You know, you got to think long term from that point of view. We had a fantastic succession plan. I mean, we're so well organised. You know, our succession plan was called COVID-19. I was of that age. Go home. You know, you're at risk. Stay indoors. We'll feed you under the door. Here's the key, Seamus. Good luck.
You were fired, basically, was it?
Basically.
Was your Lord Sugar moment?
That was it, you know. But you really have to, you know, the next generation, you can't just expect, you know, somebody to give of their best if they don't know what the ultimate goal is or what they're trying to achieve and all that kind of. And again, they will hit the bad times. So they've got to understand what the core of the business is and how you can do it differently. I mean, people say to me, what is your business now? I say, well, I have a lovely phrase for it. Like, it's we leverage intellectual property, right? We've got knowledge of this, the ingredients, the process, everything to do with it, the branding, the labeling, the design, all that kind of thing. Nobody touches that. Absolutely nobody touches that. But we can translate that into a process for other people to use. That's what keeps us going. But you really have to be able to do all that. We control all of that ourselves.
Okay, I'm going to come back to Edward in a moment. And if you have any questions, folks, I will do a Q&A at the end of the section. But if there's something that you want to ask while one of our speakers is speaking, put your hand up. And I think there are two roving mics around the floor there. To come to you, Caroline, we spoke a little earlier too, and you spoke about the importance of asking yourself the 5 whys. And Edward referred to 2 of them there, didn't he? Like, who are you and why are you here?
Yeah.
Bring us through those.
Well, I think, you know, first of all, it's great to be here amongst such wonderful entrepreneurs. I had a chance to walk around earlier and to have all of this in Donegal and to have Leo sponsor such an occasion. I'm delighted to be part of it. You know, the way I think of it, I've been fortunate enough to be in business for 35 years, mostly within like large corporate environments. And they're very structured and they're very organized and departmental and all that kind of stuff. But as I came out from that world, I find myself in a startup situation myself as to, okay, you start as a one-man band with some ideas that you want to cultivate. And if I draw some of the learnings, because, you know, most people that are here today may only have staff of up to about 10 people, so you don't want to have this situation where you're building an absolute mammoth machine while you're trying to learn and inch your way forward. So the way I like to think about it is I like to think big, start small. And the reason why I think that's important is to think big allows you to actually look at the vista of the opportunities, and that's where the whole idea of vision comes into play. And so if you're to start really small, you may find yourself building something that's not scalable or flexible for the future. You may find yourself in an industry where you've taken account of local, national kind of regulations, but not so much, you know, international regulations. You might have done something differently if you'd had your eye on the international lens. So I think when businesses start with an idea and with an entrepreneur to say, this is what I want to do, I would really encourage big thinking that the sky's the limit at that point.
So
and
always think about scaling up.
yeah, and
from
I think
the get-go.
if you think about it that way, it's almost like if you wanted to build a hotel, you wouldn't just put foundations in for a bungalow, right? And so even though you're going to start with a bungalow, you have you've built the flexibility into your business model and the understanding that these are the things that you're going to work towards. And I like to think of like the 5 W's and the H. So it's who, what, where, why, when, and how. And how is how you operate. So when I think about the why, I think Edward gave a very compelling why around, McDade's and Football Special and keeping to the core. And why are you doing what you're doing? And staying true to that is going to be really important. So it's sort of know thyself, but also be known. And in order to do that, you really have to sort of surround yourself into the network of collaboration, like type industries, the local enterprise. You've got Enterprise Ireland, you've got like various different organisations that are going to help. And it's really extraordinary the amount of support that's here locally in Donegal to really help businesses start up. So when you think about the why, I really think about those aspects of it and staying true. And then the who is really like, who are you serving? Who is your customer? Who are your ultimate? Is it like a business, a direct-to-consumer business? Is it a B2B business? And you may have a flavour of both of those. So who are you serving? What is really your products and services? So you may, again, think big but start small. All right, I want to really have these ultimate suite of products, but I do want to test and learn. I want to refine and I want to make it better. So I'm not going to dilute my focus by putting 10 things on the table. I'm going to get this one done and right. But ultimately, you've already thought about what the tentacles of that are. So that's the what. The where then is really around your geographic reach. And this is where the thinking big initially really helps you, because the geographic reach starts to think about, okay, I might be based in Donegal, but that doesn't mean that that's the only place I can sell my products and services. And starting to think about what does the sort of e-commerce aspect of that look like? How do I tap into international markets? Again, a tremendous amount of support, because when you're sitting there as literally lone at the time with your ideas, it can be very intimidating. You can talk yourself out of a lot of this because it all sounds very complicated, but know that others have forged that path before you. And then when you think about the who as well, you've got to think about your staff. Who are you going to how are you going to build your team? What I find when you're starting small, and I have been involved in startups before as well, is it's really important to get a really great team around you. And it's really important that you invest in training them, but then empowering them. And isn't it a wonderful thing if you've only got about 4 or 5 people on your team, that everybody knows the play of everybody else? So the people in product knows how you're going to market it, how to advertise it, how the sale part of that works, and then how we're going to operate it behind the scenes. Ultimately, as you scale, you want to get accountability very firmly placed into those roles. But initially, it's a wonderful thing for people to see each other's part of the business and to be able to support that and the complementary skills. And then how is a big thing. It's great to have ideas, but how to get them executed and how to get them done. And that's really your operating model. I like to think about that as the people, the processes, and the tools that you're going to use in order to do that. And if you've got those ingredients, and the beauty of it today is there's so many tools out there that are really custom made for small entrepreneurs. Back in the day, big companies would have to subscribe to massive tools and platforms and so forth, and very cost prohibitive for small businesses. And now, just through social media and tools that just have arisen for every element of the business cycle, there's ways now to be able to do that in a very competitive way and to learn how all of those stitch together.
Okay, the 5 W's. Willie, did you have those when you started? Your family started National, which was before, obviously, Fruit of the Loom.
Of course.
You're just going to say yes to that, aren't you? Yeah, you had all of that worked out at the very beginning. Can I just double check? Can everybody hear Willie clearly? No, I think it's a bit difficult. Can I just double check that Willie's mic is working? Well, you might tell us a bit more about the family business, how it went from National to Fruit of the Loom to becoming the business, I suppose, that it is today.
Ciara, assuming that mic is working.
It is now, I think, yep.
Funnily enough, the thing I was thinking about this early this morning. I do my best thinking, snoozing in the morning. And I think the word tariffs has a lot to do with why I'm here today. And I'd just like to explain why that is. My father's family are all from Derry, and my eldest uncle, as a young man, started in a very large business in Derry that made underwear. The building is still there. It's down at the bottom of Abercorn Road. It's a 4-storey, 8-bay, traditional Victorian factory building that made underwear largely for the British forces, Navy, Army and so on, and had its own brand. He learnt the underwear business from 1920 to 1930. Some of our sporting friends will be glad to know he was an avid fan of Derry City football. And the family history has it that on a Wednesday, I think, when Derry City were playing, he decided he had to see the game during the day. Now, I should also point out that he never got on with the boss's son. And when he went to the football match, it was a good match, but the next day he got what we might call the P45. Boss's son decided we can do without this fellow here.
Just to be clear, did he skip work to go to the match?
He did.
Okay, right. I just wanted that clarity.
So, but the boss's son was just waiting for an opportunity and put out my uncle on the street. And this was 1930. And whatever people might think about employment situation in Northern Ireland or Donegal today, it was a pretty grim time to be unemployed. And my grandfather apparently said to him, you know, you're never going to work for anybody else anyway, so would you start on your own? And the pair of them thought, there was lots of talk at the time, you know, if you Google Smoot Hawley or tariffs in the 1930s, you'll find that the Smoot Hawley Act had been brought in the States, which put, funnily enough, 20% tariffs on all goods coming into the States. There was a lot of talk about tariffs, and other nations were putting up tariffs at the time. And even though the 26 counties or the Free State had come into being, trade was reasonably free, but there was talk that tariffs would come about. So my uncle and my eldest uncle, who had been just fired from the dairy company, and his father, my grandfather, decided there will come tariffs around the Free State. So my uncle persuaded 5 people in very difficult days to leave the company that he worked in to come to Buncrana to set up an underwear.
The mic is coming and going, so just hold that. Thank you.
To set up an underwear business with 5 people who left secure jobs in Derry to come with them to Buncrana to probably fairly insecure jobs to make ladies-shaped vests. And that was the start. And they were looking for a brand name. So they thought, being a new state and so on, the name National would be a good brand name. So that was how National Underwear came about. Very quickly, my uncle was joined by 2 other brothers, and during the 30s, they developed national brand underwear and built up perhaps 60, 70 people. Then the war came, very difficult situation in the 26 counties and Northern Ireland. And so materials were very hard to get. My father had a good friend who was an undertaker in Muff called Jim Lynch. And they were talking one day, and my father was looking high up and low down for any kind of fabric. And Jim Lynch said to him, I have loads and loads of shroud fabric, if it's any good. So my father beat to the rope, said, I'll buy it from you. And they produced ladies and kids underwear with the shroud fabric. It had one very significant feature to it. It squeaked every time you moved. But they survived the war, and after the war, the new look came in Paris, and they discovered that even though they had been just used making underwear fabrics, they could actually make cotton tops and dyed cotton tops that kind of took off the new look that was in Paris. So they started developing an outerwear range as well as national underwear. And that lasted through the 50s, but in the middle of the 50s, in 1956, and here's where the tariff thing comes in, the UK and Ireland, miraculously enough, I think Sean Lemass was a big driver of it, they signed the Anglo-Irish trade agreement, which allowed essentially free trade between the then republic, because the Free State had become republic in 1948, I think, or 49. The Anglo-Irish free trade or trade agreement allowed a lot of free trade between the Irish Republic and the United Kingdom. So that tariff reduction allowed the business in Buncrana to expand, sell to a lot of English wholesalers and so on, and that continued through the 60s. I, meantime, had been schooled by my father, as had my two brothers. You're never coming into this business. Eddie, you'll recognize this. You never come into this business because it's far too bloody hard. You become a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher.
Two very easy professions,
or
I
a
have to
civil
say.
servant. Get a good job.
Get a proper job.
And
Permanent and pensionable,
exactly.
as they were back then.
So we've been schooled with this. I did go to college in Trinity College. I then was anxious to go to a US business school, so I managed somehow or other to get into MIT in Cambridge, Mass, where I did a 2-year master's and so on. And my father wasn't the greatest scribe in the world. He only wrote me about 3 or 4 letters ever in his life, but about 6 months before I was finishing in MIT, he wrote me a letter saying, your uncles are not terribly well, not well. I'm not terribly well myself. The business is not well, and if you're ever thinking of coming home, now's the time.
So he really sold it to you, didn't he?
Yeah. And I'm sitting in Cambridge wondering, thinking, I'll stay in the States here. This is a great place. And I get this letter, so I thought, well, it's my father after all. I have great regard for him and so on. And I wrote to him and said, I'll come home for 6 months. And I'm still here. So what happened then was I got hold of some new people, and we had lots of good people worked in the business. We developed much more fashion T-shirts. We developed sportswear with Adidas, Levi, sweatshirts for Levi's, and so on. We're doing pretty well through to about 1980, when people will either know or remember what the 80s were like. Tremendous cost pressures, you couldn't recover in prices, wage increases.
Huge interest rates.
It really was very difficult. And my wife said to me one day, what we need is a joint venture with a large American company.
Which is a great idea, but is not that simple, I would imagine.
It's not that simple.
Was it a brother that went to the US?
Yes, a little bell, sometimes one spouse says things to you that ring little bells, even big bells in your head. And this rang a little bell in my head because I thought, if we could do that, that would solve a lot of problems.
And was this about getting investments primarily in the business, or you just wanted to try and scale up the business?
We wanted to scale up and get some financial muscle behind us, because we had about 450 people. You know, we weren't doing too badly, but the tremendous cost pressures, really. And we were selling very much to Dunnes Stores, to Pennies, Adidas, Levi's, but it was all tremendous cost pressure there. So what we thought was, if we sort of advertise we want an American partner, they look at the map and they'll see we're 10 miles from Northern Ireland, where unfortunately things were not very good. So, you know, unless we do something dramatic, this won't happen. And my middle brother had come into the business, and I also had a younger brother had come into the business, but my middle brother was a chemical engineer, and he had worked for DuPont and had spent a year in North Carolina, which in those days was a good center for the US textile industry. So he had 2 little kids and a wife, and he volunteered that he would go and set up where he had some friends in Camden, North Carolina. He did that with the IDA's blessing, and IDA, the local manager here, the people in Dublin, very supportive of all this, gave us some help with it. And my brother and I made a list of who we want to talk to, one of which was a company called Union Underwear, who had the brand name Fruit of the Loom, and that became the company Fruit of the Loom.
So how do you think he convinced them to get involved, given all the challenges that you point out there, the fact that you were located in the northwest of a small country called Ireland that was nowhere near as successful as it is now, with such proximity to the border and all the challenges that brought? If you could sum up in 2 or 3 lines, Willie, what he said to convince Fruit of the Loom, as it was, to come over and to invest here.
Well, even though I say it myself, I think my brother's a pretty impressive guy to talk to, and he persuaded the people, first of all, that, you know, he was on the level, persuaded them to come and see us in July '86. So it was a team came to see us. We were very determined to keep them overnight, to try and get across them, you know, you can operate a business here, we have very good people, etc., and that happened. And it all happened actually very quickly then.
And the scale was phenomenal. I mean, you went from about 400 staff in Buncrana to 3,000.
Yes, but
in a short period of time.
That happened, we signed our deal in February '87, and we were up at 3,000 people with 6 plants in Donegal, 2 in Derry. We were up at 3,000 probably by 1993. In fact, you know, we ditched our existing business, and we couldn't develop fast enough to supply the kind of T-shirts and sweatshirts that we were doing. I mean, we created probably the largest vertically integrated T-shirt and sweatshirt complex in the world, where we're bringing in cotton in the bale from the US and spraying out 1 million T-shirts a week and 400,000 sweatshirts.
Were there mistakes made, do you think, Willie, at that time, when you went from, I mean, as you say, it was a big business by Donegal standards with 400 employees to 3,000 employees?
Well, it was the largest manufacturing business at one time in the state. You know, with those numbers, and there's still, Fruit of the Loom still employs about 4,000 people in Morocco. Not, I'm out of it for a long time, and so on. But when I was talking to Jim McGuinness earlier on, I told him I would tell him a story about the bank, and this illustrates one of the difficulties. We were training and pushing people, training and taking on people so fast, and this is hard to believe in the 80s, but we were taking on so fast that we used to pay people by check. And it got to a stage where we couldn't produce the checks and sign them fast enough. So one day, one of our managers came to me and said, I've negotiated with the union, everybody will now accept what we call electronic funds transfer. In other words, the money will go into the bank, But he said, there's no ATMs in Buncrana. You've got to get an ATM.
So people could withdraw their wages?
Yeah, so I went to the bank manager and said, we have to get an ATM. And he said, don't worry, I'll get one for you. So he came down about an hour later and he said, I'm told we're number 3,000 on the bank's list, and it'll be 3 years before we've got an ATM. So wondering, what do you do in these kind of circumstances? Well, I had a very good friend who was a Trinity professor called Loudon Ryan. And Loudon had ascended to become governor of the Bank of Ireland. So I was sitting in my office, what on under God are we going to do about this? Because we need this done. And I rang up the Bank of Ireland, asked to be put through to the governor, and I said who I was, straight through, and he said, how are you doing? What do you want? Explained to him, and he said, in typical, Loudon's from Portadown, spoke the same accent as myself. You just leave that with me. But an hour later, I got a phone call from the guy who ran all the ATMs for Bank of Ireland and said, when would you like your ATM? And I said, tomorrow morning.
Well, it's, what was it, 3,000 withdrawals guaranteed every single week. It made sense. To come back to you, Caroline, both men, I think, have spoken about different points within their businesses where they had to look outside the business, look outside the family business to bring in external expertise. And I'd say a lot of the businesses in this room, particularly businesses that are starting out, you tend to rely on yourself, on a family member, on somebody you know. At what point do you need to look beyond that? And how important is it that you bring in that external expertise?
I would say do it from the get-go, because, you know, the more you can engage with, I mean, again, organisations like the local enterprise office, you'd be astounded with the amount of support that they can offer, not only from a digital perspective and digital vouchers, etc., to help people to really create that presence online, which I think every business pretty much needs now. But they've also really started to work diligently on green initiatives, which, not for nothing, is really, really important in today's world and very much valued by customers. So if you can think about, you know, in your business setup, the types of materials you use and how you're processing and creating and manufacturing, having that green understanding from the get-go can save you a ton of time, energy, money, angst, etc., by just plugging into knowledge that's already there and the mentorship that they also give. And also, I'd say another shout out to Leo is, you know, on lean initiatives. So again, it's back to that idea at the beginning when I said think big, start small. Starting small isn't always easy either, and so lean is really about that sort of agile way of testing and learning and figuring it out, and then being able to sort of, right, now we know exactly what we're going to do and we can scale.
And doing it in a very structured way.
Very structured way, and it's a very highly proven and effective way of doing things that not necessarily everybody, you don't learn it at school, for example. And so the beauty of an organisation like Leo is that they've done it for other companies, and there's a show and tell, and in fact there's loads of videos on their website where it just takes the mystery out of it, you know. I think it can be nothing more frightening than to sit trying to figure out everything yourself, not realising support and help, and like here's one we made earlier, and it just creates a great sense of relief to know that you're not walking that path alone, and that the mentorship that they provide, etc., is just phenomenal. So I would say the earlier you do that, the better, because you will get shortcuts to things that might take you a lot longer to figure out on your own, and you might have to go up and down paths a few times. Also, you get to connect with like-minded people who are doing it, networking at events like this here. It's just a fabulous way to feel bolstered and supported on your journey, and people to ask questions of, you know, when things get tricky.
And what about sort of protecting the people that are already within the organisation? I know when you worked with Primerica, when you led Primerica, one of the things you were really proud of was the fact that it was voted one of the best places to work, that you were platinum level excellence through people, to give it its proper title. And you have spoken, haven't you, at length about how important you think positive workplace culture is and why it is important. I think sometimes it sounds like this, theory, but it's
Yes.
not. It's much more than theory, isn't it?
It is. It's
Particularly if you're trying to grow a business and scale a business.
Absolutely. Culture is absolutely critical within any company, small or large, and it goes beyond a HR initiative. It's really the entire company embracing that, and it's back to being able to engage employees for everything that they bring to the table. Sometimes you hire somebody for their brain and then you only use 5% of it because that's all you're allowed to see and do and think, and not really engendering their ideas. But you're not only hiring people for their brain, their energy that they bring to the job, their passion, their spirit, all of that can be harnessed in a way in which people really enjoy showing up for work. Because getting out of bed for work in the morning, it's not often about, well, what am I getting paid? It's really about, what am I being tapped to do? How important are my ideas? How can I bring things to life? Is my voice, going to be heard and listened to? And that's the fun side. And I think we can never lose that childlike fun traits that really, that's the thing that brings ideas to life. And if people have passion for their job, you don't need to be watching over people. They'll just go like the wind because they've been given that sort of, they've been engendered with that empowered facility to be able to do that. And I think that creates a culture where people feed that off of each other and you're not always looking to the top for orders.
Okay, I am conscious of time here. I'll quickly go to the floor to see if there's any questions coming from the floor. Otherwise, I can go back to the panel because I have so much more to ask them and not enough time, as always. I'm going to ask you actually very briefly, Caroline, technology and the role of technology in businesses.
Yes.
Particularly now, AI. Should every business here today, or anybody who's thinking of starting a business, be trying to bring AI into their business? Should they be using it?
I think the first thing you have to do is learn a little bit about what AI will bring to your side of the business. I think there's a lot of myths out there that AI is going to steal all our jobs and it's going to do whatever. What I see AI is it's getting more sophisticated and its time is now, but I really also see it as a tool that goes alongside your products, your services, your people, and it really should be a support mechanism, but it's not, there's lots of easy ways, in whichever, like chatbots that can do customer service 24/7, so you're not managing things like that at night, automating your back end, having the right analytics in your business to help drive the right type of decision making. So none of this is new, but it just can be done in much more sophisticated ways. In fact, if anybody has used ChatGPT, you'll understand how sophisticated that's getting. You can now use things like that there to produce content very quickly, massage it, make it your own, Canva for doing content. And so there's lots of wonderful tools out there that can actually be plugged alongside of that.
And many of them really cheap.
Really cheap and very easy to use. And I guess, was it Edward that said about, bringing youth into the businesses and having a new lens, and people that are used to doing social media and TikToks and all the stuff that maybe you haven't done, gosh, they bring such a new lens and energy. Long gone are the days where people are going to sit reading a load of content on your website. They want to see how it's done really fast and snappy. So there's all of those things really have to be considered as part of it. So I wouldn't be scared by AI, but I would be leaning in to understand what it can do and get on with it, because otherwise you'll lose a competitive edge when others will embrace it.
Okay, I have one question for you, Edward. I want to ask you about scaling your business, because Football Special is around for a long time, but only in the last, I think, year or two, I've actually seen it in shops now in Dublin, as I call them, the posh shops, the payday shops, and in Lidl recently. So I think a lot of businesses will be interested in how that collaboration with Lidl came around. 222 stores, huge for any business.
Yeah, and next Thursday, if you're not doing anything better, get out to the local Lidl store and buy every product of McDay's you can get your hands on. It'll keep us going. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the whole Lidl initiative, we've been trying to sell into, national companies, and when we've been dealing locally, say with Duns and all that kind of thing. I suppose starting locally and getting an opportunity locally, at least we could get our systems in place of how you prepare for something like that. How do you do the ordering? You just can't turn up there. You have to have an order in place previously. It has to be through your electronic system. They're going to pay you that way and all that sort of stuff. All has to be put in place. A lot of homework to do on that kind of thing before you go anywhere. And then it's a matter of trying to, I suppose you're looking really to partner with them if you can use that wonderful phrase. And I mean, while they're all big companies, you think what their business about, and Lidl and I mean Dunn's and all the rest have been very supportive of us down, and our local shops all down through the years. They want to sell more product. So they want you to be successful. They want you to have something new out there so they can put it on the shelf and it's going to shift and it's going to go through their till. So once you understand the dynamics of it, it's a matter then of trying your best to make sure you can work with their systems. Very, very important to be able to do that. For example, we're hitting 222 stores, north and south. We go into 4 depots, so we have 4 deliveries to look after. That's it. We couldn't do that without partnering with somebody like Lidl. And you know, and they're only one. I mean, we hope we'll do this with all of them. It's not just this one, but it shows you that it is possible. But there's a huge amount of work involved, preparing yourself for it. And then again, there's a lot of shoe leather involved, you know, in trying to get in front of the buyer and making sure that they understand what you're about and that you're going to drive additional business or a new demographic or something different through their stores. That's what they could care less about you as such. But can you help them to develop their business? And if you could get on that vein with them, and again, like it's, you know, it's a young team that we have driven by my son Seamus. Like I've tried all these things years ago. It didn't work. I couldn't do it. There's no point in me saying I could. And you know, if we had been successful, I don't know that we would have been able to sustain it. We can sustain it today. You know, that's the difference. The scaling up, as Karen would talk about there, and as Willie has said, you know, eventually when you do get to that point of scaling up, you can handle it. You know, you really can.
Okay, I'm going to go to the audience before we wrap up. Anybody got any questions? I've never seen such a room of quiet, shy Donegal people in my life. I think we all talk for a living. No Do I see somebody? No pressure, I should say. Oh, there's a question here at the back. And then I promise we'll take a break and we'll all go for a cup of tea and coffee.
I'm the coordinator of the Irish Language Plan for Letterkenny, and we brought Finbar Bradley to Letterkenny a couple of months ago. One, two.
Yep, I can hear you now.
I'm just wondering if Finbar Bradley set up Fionter, the Department of Enterprise in DCU, talks a lot about the benefits of the Irish language to give companies resilience and rootedness and give the customers a sense of authenticity. I just wonder, would any of you consider within your own businesses that it may give you something that is worth exploring and pursuing in terms of branding and marketing and things like that, to introduce that element of Irish language into your own businesses?
Okay, I want to go to you actually, William, on that, because I wanted to ask you about the whiskey business actually, which you're heavily involved in, and branding of Irish whiskey. You want to bring, what's the whiskey in Irish? My Irish is appalling, I'm afraid. Ishkabaha. I should remember that. Do you want to take that question?
I'm afraid I'm not the greatest person to talk about this. I don't particularly have a business at the moment. All I can do is comment on it. But I would say that I was educated in Northern Ireland, and I went to a school where there was no Irish taught. But one of the benefits of being at MIT was that you could cross-register to Harvard for any course that you wanted. And my professor in MIT, who hired me as a research assistant, he was fourth generation Irish American, and he and I registered for Irish 1 at Harvard, taught by a Dr. Bowling from Kansas, who is an excellent, fluent Irish speaker. And we attended class, went up 3 times a week on the T, 2 stops to Harvard, taking our Irish classes. Both of us, my professor friend's now dead, unfortunately, but both of us said that Harvard didn't know too much about Irish teaching, but Harvard might have had other ideas. But I was out, and when I was with the International Fund for Ireland, I was in Gweedore one day doing an event for the fund, and I happened to tell them to say that I had made a valiant attempt to learn Irish at Harvard, and Denny McGinley was the TD at those days, and he stood up at the end, he said, and I had said a few words, he said, and I particularly admire Willie McCarter's Harvard Bloss. Anyway, that's a roundabout way of saying I think the Irish language could well help in many businesses, because it does lend authenticity to lots of products, and I think in the whiskey business.
Yeah, Edward, and very briefly, Edward, Leroy Specialta, is that right? I am really letting myself down badly here.
Then a couple of focal luggage are nail on a Harvard Blast ugum. Interestingly, when we did, talked about going back to the core of our business, and we did the mission statement stuff and all that kind of thing, what came across very strongly was that, because we have people, from Gidor and that working with us, etc. And one of our strap lines in it is Neil Carton that curled the Kayla. You know no strength until you operate together. So the Irish language, the couple of focal is very much key part of our business. What we can say about it from a product perspective is difficult to see how we can translate that, because we want to be very authentic. We don't want to pretend. That's not what we're about. We're about the real thing. But we are developing a new product as we speak. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but the Irish language figures in it, And we do see
it's a case of watch this space.
Yep.
Great. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Huge thanks to Edward McDade, to Willie McCarter, and to Caroline Falconer. Thank you so much for your time, your expertise, and your insights. Really enjoyed that. Folks, we're going to take a half-an-hour break, enjoy a tea, coffee, a bit of fresh air, and we'll come back with our sports panel after that.
My love.